Hi everybody, welcome to the Actors Academy. Thank you for tuning in today. Today we're going to be talking about what not to do at your auditions. Whether you're auditioning for something on HBO, Netflix, Hulu, Amazon, whatever it is, I'm going to be telling you guys 7 different things on what you should not do at your auditions. Now, one common question that I still get asked by people is what is the difference between going and auditioning for something on HBO compared to auditioning for a project on Disney Channel or Nickelodeon or Hulu or Amazon Studios? What is the actual process differences between these auditions? And something that I want you guys to really understand is that there is no difference at all. The process that you go through when auditioning for HBO or auditioning for Disney Channel, there is no difference at all. The only real difference involved is actually the content that's created. The content that HBO creates is very different than the content that Disney Channel creates. Think about it this way when it comes to smartphones. You can have an Apple smartphone or you can have a Samsung smartphone. What is the actual difference between the phones? Well, there's a lot of differences in terms of the processors, the internal things inside the phone, but ultimately the only difference is that the content that's involved within that project. So when you're going in for that audition, you still have to go through the normal auditioning process. There's nothing different about auditioning for HBO or auditioning for Disney Channel. The only real difference is the content and the material that you're auditioning for. But the process that you go through, hey, you're still gonna go get your scene, you're gonna go and try and memorize it, and then you're gonna go and do your best job that you can at your audition. So that process doesn't change at all. I do want to give you guys though these 7 points of mistakes that actors tend to usually make, because as actors we want to know, yes, what to do, but we also need to know what we have to stay away from, because in acting it is really a numbers game. You know, if you went and only in the whole year you auditioned for one movie, the odds of you booking that movie are very low. But now let's say I told you, hey, I'm going to let you audition for 100 movies this year. Do you have a better chance at booking one of those parts if you get to audition for 100 movies? Yeah, you have a better chance. Is it a guarantee? No, it's not a guarantee. It's still very, very, very difficult. But you have a much better chance if you can audition for 100 projects compared to only auditioning for one project. Now, to increase your chances even more, past just the sheer number of how many times you're auditioning, is the quality of your auditions. So if you're auditioning and you're kind of right here, you're kind of at a so-so level of your auditions, if you can bring it up to here, where your auditions are even better and your auditions are stronger, you have a better potential chance of booking those parts. Now, how do you bring it from here to here? Well, if you're making some mistakes down here, inherently, just by stopping the mistakes that you're making, it will bring you up to here. So you can learn how to do things that are right, which will bring you up to this level, but also learning what things to stay away from will naturally bring you up, because now you're starting to get rid of some of the baggage that's holding you back. So that's why I want to give you guys these 7 points on things that actors usually tend to do wrong when they're auditioning for any project that it may be, whether it is for Disney Channel, Netflix, Hulu, HBO, whatever it might be. Point number 1 is not being able to answer some of the simple questions. So what are some of the simple questions that we have to be able to answer? Well, 1, we have to know who our character is. Who is our character? How old is our character? Does our character go to school? Do they work? Have they ever been to school before? Is our character rich? Are they poor? What is the story behind our character? Who is our character? What is the relationship of our character to the other person that we're going to be speaking to? Do we like the person we're speaking to? Do we not like the person we're speaking to? Is the person we're speaking to our boss? Is it our teacher? Is it our parent? Is it our grandparent? Is it our best friend? Is it our girlfriend? Is it our boyfriend? Who are we talking to? Because knowing who we're talking to will affect us, because the way that we maybe talk to our lover is different than the way we talk to our grandmother. So those are important points to think about. Where's your character coming from? And where's your character gonna go after the scene? Where's your character just coming from? Did your character just get fired and now they're coming into the scene? Or is your character gonna go and ask for a promotion after the scene is over, whatever's happening in the scene? What are some of the facts in the scene? What are some of the things that you can't deny that are happening in the scene, or define who your character is? What are some of the facts involved within the scene? And then also asking yourself why. Why is your character doing what they're doing? Why are they saying what they're saying? These are some points that you really have to get down just to knowing who your character is, knowing what's happening in the scene, because by knowing these points, it will affect how you go and portray your character. Point number 2 is not wearing the right clothing. So as an actor, we have to make sure that we're telling a story. We're telling a story with the way that we speak, the way that our physicality is, what we do, how we're portraying those characters, what we're doing. Clothing also helps with this, because when the casting director or director is watching us, we're trying to bring them into the world. We're trying to have them use their imaginations to picture us to be in the role, to be the person that they want to hire. So some of the things that we can do to help them is by wearing the right clothing that helps us lean more towards the character that we're trying to portray. So let's say, for example, you got the opportunity to go and audition for the role of a cop. Right? So you're going to go and audition for this role. When you go and audition for this role, you should not go and walk into the casting room, or if you're doing a self-tape, stand in front of the camera wearing a really bright tie-dye shirt. Because how many cops have you seen walking around wearing a bright tie-dye shirt? You never see that. So most likely what you would pick is maybe something a little bit more fitted. Maybe you'd wear something that's more of a solid color. Maybe it would just be black, or maybe it would be white, or maybe it would be blue, whatever you would decide. For example, I had a role before where I was having to go and audition for the bad boy type of character. So my job was to, yes, go and learn the lines, do everything that I had to do to try and get this character down, knowing what my character wanted, knowing what was going on in the scene, all those little details. But to help myself also try and book this part, I had to help the casting director be able to imagine me as being more of the bad boy type of character. So I also had the type of clothing to help as well, and thought to myself, okay, what are some of the things that a bad boy character might typically tend to wear that we might see on TV or we might see in movies, also depending on what this casting director has cast for before. So I went in and I had my leather jacket. I think I had a white shirt underneath. I had some pretty cool pants on. I had some pants that have these zippers on them. So I had a whole outfit thing that I kind of picked out a little bit. I didn't go to a huge, big extreme, right? I didn't have a bunch of spikes or things on my leather jacket, and I didn't have a bunch of eyeliner on or put a bunch of earrings or anything like that. But I was just trying to give a little bit of an essence. That's all we're trying to do. We're just trying to give a little bit of an essence of that character that we're going for. So I was in there, I was prepared, I had my outfit, and then there were other actors who were in there who weren't prepared at all. They just had normal, baggy, short sleeve shirts, and they were wearing shorts. And they were going in auditioning for this bad boy character. Now, these actors did not go and get a call back for this part. The reason I know is because I got a call back for the part that I auditioned for, and then I was able to see some of the other actors who also got called back, and none of those actors who were there just wearing a t-shirt and shorts got any sort of callbacks for it. So you're trying to help bring the casting director and the director into the imagination for the part. So the best thing that you guys can do is just use the clothing that you wear to help give a little bit of the essence of the character that you're portraying. That's all you're trying to do, just give a little taste, a little hint of the essence of that character. Point number 3 is not having your lines memorized. Memorize your lines. It's something that you guys have to do. Anytime you're going in for an audition, you want to make sure that your lines are memorized. Will there be times where you have to go and look at your lines? Maybe you drop a line or you forget where you're at? Sure, that's completely fine. But one thing that I want you guys to remember is that the eyes are the gateway into the soul. You guys have probably heard this before. It's especially true when you're auditioning for things for a TV or for movies, because everybody sees your eyes, especially when you're in a movie. If you're in a big movie theater and you've ever seen a close-up on somebody, their eyes are huge, they're this big. So any little movement that they do is huge on the screen. So the eyes are the gateway into the soul, and when they're watching you, because when you go in for an audition, they have a camera up and they're recording you, they're going to be looking at you on that camera, and they want to see your eyes, the story that you're telling through your eyes. Now, if you don't have your lines memorized, and you have to constantly keep looking back at your lines, not where you go and glance back at your lines maybe once or twice during the audition, but you keep doing it repetitively, and you're down here, now they don't really get to see your eyes as much. Now they don't really get to see the story that's coming through you fully, which gives you a very, very low chance at booking that part. So the best thing that you can do is have your lines all completely memorized. Again, if you have to go and look at your lines just a little bit, that's fine. Maybe once or twice you look down at your lines, but it should not be something that you're repetitively doing over and over again. Okay, I'm down here, boom, I say my lines. Back down here, boom, I say my lines. That's what we want to stay away from. Point number 4 is not bringing your best self to the room, meaning be who you are, be yourself. Try and manage your nerves. Nerves is something that we want to try and manage for ourselves, because what tends to happen is when we get nervous, we have a wall that comes up. So the casting director or the director doesn't get a full potential ability to see who we actually are, because we have a wall up here, we have nerves. If you've ever been in a situation before where you've been at school or you've been at work, or there's been a situation where you've been nervous, have you been able to be fully yourself, be the person that you actually are? No, we haven't been, because we have a wall that's in front of us. We hold back what we want to say, or our voice gets a little bit smaller. We're not being who we actually are. So confidence is usually the thing that can help us be who we are, bring our best selves into the room. You have to think of confidence though as muscle. It's something that has to be worked out. It's something that you guys should be working on every single day, building up your confidence. If you guys want to see my video on confidence, you guys can look at it, or maybe there's something else that helps you with your confidence, and that's completely fine. But confidence is something that can help you build your self-esteem up, and by building your self-esteem up and building up your own confidence, by practicing it, by working on it, it's much easier for you to go into that audition and bring your best self forward. So keep working on your confidence, because ultimately you want to bring your best self into the room. Point number 5 is not taking advantages of the opportunities that come to you. And opportunities, I mean, is by this. When you go into that audition room, you will have some potential opportunities to take advantage of the situation of that room. Meaning, a lot of actors go into an audition and they worry, they're not sure, should they stand or should they sit? As an actor, you should be able to be comfortable with both. You should be able to be comfortable standing. You should also be able to be comfortable sitting. But sometimes actors feel when they go into the room that they have to stand. You have to do whatever you're going to do your best work at. So if you're going to do better sitting, then you should sit. If you're going to do better standing, then you should stand. Now, you won't always get the option. This is why you need to work at being able to be good at both. Sometimes it will tell you, hey, we want you to sit for this part. I've had auditions before where they had a chair and they specifically just wanted me to sit in the chair and do the whole audition. They don't want me to stand. I've been in other auditions where they don't even have a chair in the room. They just want you to stand and do your audition. Sometimes though, you will have that option where there will be a chair there and you get to choose. Now, a lot of actors think that they cannot sit in that chair, or they shouldn't sit in the chair because the actor right before them decided to not sit in the chair. If you're going to be more comfortable and if you're going to do better work, take advantage of it. Or if you decide for yourself, you're like saying, hey, you know what? I'm going to do much better in this scene if I can play it the way I want. Because I want to stand, but then there's a moment where I want to go and sit in the chair. Make that known to the casting director and tell them, hey, you know, on page 1, I'm going to be all standing up. Right when we get to this section of page 2, though, I am going to go and sit down on this line. And then they know. That's what makes you more comfortable. But take advantage of those opportunities that come to you. You get to decide, hey, do you want to stand? Do you want to sit? Not all the time. Sometimes you won't be able to. But when you have the option, take advantage of it and do whatever you're going to do your best work with. Whether that means standing, whether that means sitting, or if it means doing both. So take advantage of the opportunities when they come to you. Point number 6 for the mistakes that actors tend to make in their auditions is that they're not malleable. You want to stay completely malleable when you go into your auditions, meaning you're able to change. You don't just have your character set in one specific way. You can do your character in way A, you can do your character in way B, meaning you could do your character happy, or you could do your character a little less happy, or very happy, or maybe mad, or maybe sad, or whatever it is, because when you go into an audition and you're working on this character, you have an idea of who this character is. Now, there will be times where you go into an audition and you will be wrong. You're not going to really hit the mark of what you're going for. Or maybe the casting director wants to test to see how well that you take direction. As an actor, you want to be malleable in your craft, meaning when you have your character here and they give you a direction and they say, hey, you know, you just did the scene where you were completely happy in it. Let's see what happens if on page 2, you get a little bit angrier, you get mad at the character you're speaking with. And then on page 3, let's say you go back to happy and then you're a little bit more forgiving. You want to be able to be malleable enough to change and take those directions. Or maybe they'll tell you to do a physical direction and they'll tell you, hey, from standing here, go and sit down, do your alignment, and then stand back up and then pretend you go and throw a baseball. I had to do a scene like that before. I think it was about a year and a half ago or something like that. And it was specific directions that they would tell everybody when they came into the room. They said, hey, this is what you want to do. This is what you're going to be doing, because it was for a baseball role or something like that. But you have to be malleable and you have to be able to take those directions. Now, how do you do this? How do you be malleable as an actor? It's actually in the way that you're practicing. So when you get that scene that you're working on, that you're going to be auditioning for in the next day or next 2 days, or maybe it's even next week, whenever your audition is, what you have to do is you have to work on your character in different ways. Don't just work on your character being happy and standing up. Even though that will be the main way that you plan to do it for the audition, that's going to be what you're practicing the majority of the time, but also practice it in just a little bit of some other ways. So let's say 90% you're practicing it the way you're actually going to audition, and for the rest of the 10%, you're going to practice in different ways. So maybe what you would do is you'd be mad instead of happy in your scene, or you try your scene sitting down, or maybe you try your scene moving around a little bit more. Maybe you try your scene where you're a little bit less happy, or maybe you're a little bit extra happy. Just staying malleable enough so you don't get stuck in one way, because what can tend to happen is when we practice in one way, we can get stuck. It's kind of like when someone's working out. If they're only ever doing this with their arms, they're only doing curls, well, they're able to do this very well. But then when they have to do other things with their muscles and work in different ways with their body, it's a lot harder. So that's why when people work out, they work out every different part of their muscle. They don't just work out one single muscle. And it's the same when you're going to be doing an audition for the casting director or the director. You want to stay malleable. So yes, you have your main way of working on your character, but also stay flexible and practice in other different ways, and that will help you stay malleable for your characters. Point number 7 is thinking about your auditions afterwards. This is one thing that I want you guys to stay away from, because what can tend to happen is if you think about your audition, whether or not the audition went good or if it went bad, let's play it both ways. Let's say you go in for your audition and it didn't go well at all, but you don't leave it in the audition room. Right when you walk out of the building, you're thinking the whole time about how your audition sucked, how it didn't go well. And then you're spending your whole time during the week how you're thinking, oh my gosh, I did terrible at this one audition that I was really wanting. I really wanted this Netflix show. I really wanted this Amazon show, but I did a terrible job. And you constantly think about that. Well, what can tend to happen is it can affect your future work that you go into. So let's say you get another audition next week. If you think too much negatively about your previous audition, that will bleed into your future auditions that you tend to have, and it can snowball in the work that you create. Or even worse, let's say you have 2 auditions in a day. You go to your first audition. That audition doesn't go well for you. Now you're thinking how terrible that was. It's a lot harder for you to do good at your second audition, because now you're thinking so much about your first audition that you're not fully able to invest in your second audition that you're going for. Maybe you're worried about what you're doing. Maybe you're not able to remember what you worked out for your scene. It can be very detrimental for you, so you want to stay away from it. Now let's say, hey, your scene goes great. Everything goes amazing for you. This is the second side of it. Well, good for you. But now if you're constantly thinking about that scene, you're going, oh my gosh, it was great. And 2 days goes by, 3 days goes by, a whole week goes by, and you think, wow, that was a very great scene that I did last week. Sometimes though, the risk that you run into is the idea that you wonder now why you're not booking that part. So let's say a week goes by and you go, wow, I did an amazing job at that audition. And then you're wondering to yourself, wait a minute, why am I not getting a call back for that audition? Maybe I actually didn't do so well. And then you start to second guess yourself. This is the problem that actors can sometimes tend to run in. Now, if you're somebody who's very good at controlling their thoughts, meaning, hey, you can accept that you did a good audition, and if you book the part, great. If you don't book the part, that's also okay. That's a great mindset for you to have. But your job from there is just to keep moving forward. You don't have to go and think about audition. Leave that in the room, because you're going to have future auditions that you go for. Hopefully you get a call back. Hopefully you book it, but leave it in the audition room, whatever happens. Now, what I want you guys to do is leave down in the comment section below, what are the mistakes that you've made before in the past with your auditions? Have you ever fallen into any of these traps? Do you still fall into these traps? The one thing that you guys have to do is just accept the mistakes that you guys have maybe made. If you guys have had issues with numbers 1, 2, and 3, let's say, those are the mistakes that you're making for your auditions. Accept it, realize it, and just know that even though you made those mistakes in the past, you don't have to keep making those mistakes for your future auditions. So the first thing that we have to do is start owning up to the mistakes that we make in our auditions, and then from there we move on, we move forward, and we just don't make those same mistakes again. So I hope you guys like this video. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel so you stay up to date with everything. Give this video a thumbs up if it helped you guys. Also, I'll be leaving our newly enhanced 10-hour acting masterclass 2.0 down in the description section and comments down below, as well as our 10 acting resume templates. Alrighty, I'll see you guys next time. Bye guys.